SharePoint Vulnerabilities. Protect your business now. Imagine a scenario where sophisticated cybercriminals are exploiting vulnerabilities in on-premises SharePoint servers to gain unauthorized access and steal sensitive data. This is precisely what happened in July 2025, when Microsoft Security Response Center, MSRC, issued a critical alert about active attacks targeting these systems. The vulnerabilities, CVE-2025-49706 and CVE-2025-49704, allow attackers to spoof identities and execute remote code, posing a significant threat to organizations relying on on-premises SharePoint deployments. But here's where it gets controversial. These vulnerabilities do not affect SharePoint Online, highlighting the importance of maintaining separate security protocols for different platforms. Microsoft swiftly responded by releasing comprehensive security updates for all supported versions of SharePoint Server, including Subscription Edition, 2019, and 2016. These updates are crucial for protecting against the newly disclosed CVE 2025-53770 and CVE 2025-53771 vulnerabilities, which are closely related to the initial exploits. Applying these updates immediately is essential to safeguard your systems from potential breaches. The threat landscape is further complicated by the involvement of multiple nation-state actors. Microsoft has identified two named Chinese threat groups, Linen Typhoon and Violet Typhoon, as well as an unnamed actor known as Storm 2603, all of whom have been observed exploiting these vulnerabilities. These groups are known for their targeted attacks on government, defense, and critical infrastructure sectors, making the protection of on-premises SharePoint systems more critical than ever. Linen Typhoon, active since 2012, has a history of stealing intellectual property from government and defense organizations. Violet Typhoon, active since 2015, focuses on espionage against former government and military personnel, NGOs, and other key sectors. Storm 2603, while less well documented, has been linked to attempts to steal machine keys, a critical component for securing SharePoint servers. The tactics employed by these threat actors are sophisticated and well coordinated. They begin with reconnaissance, using post requests to the toolpane endpoint to identify vulnerable systems. Once a target is identified, they exploit the vulnerabilities to gain unauthorized access and deploy web shells, which allow them to execute commands and steal data. The web shells are often disguised with file names like spintal0.aspx, spintal.aspx, or variations thereof, making detection more challenging. To protect against these threats, Microsoft recommends several key actions. First, ensure that all SharePoint servers are running supported versions and are up to date with the latest security patches. Second, integrate and enable the Anti-Malware Scan Interface, AMSI, and Microsoft Defender Antivirus on all SharePoint deployments. Third, rotate the ASP.NET machine keys and restart Internet Information Services, IS, to enhance security. Finally, deploy Microsoft Defender for Endpoint to detect and block post-exploitation activities. Microsoft also provides detailed indicators of compromise, IOCs, and hunting queries to help organizations identify and respond to potential threats. These tools can be used in Microsoft Defender XDR, Microsoft Sentinel, and other security platforms to monitor for suspicious activity and mitigate risks. In conclusion, the recent vulnerabilities in on-premises SharePoint highlight the ongoing need for robust security measures and continuous monitoring. By staying informed about the latest threats and implementing best practices, organizations can better protect their critical data and maintain a strong security posture. What do you think about the effectiveness of these security measures? Do you have any additional strategies for protecting on-premises SharePoint systems? Chinese hackers breach U.S. nuclear agency via Microsoft flaws. Imagine a scenario where hackers, backed by a powerful nation, infiltrate the U.S. agency responsible for designing nuclear weapons. Sounds like the plot of a Hollywood thriller, right? Unfortunately, this is our harsh reality. Microsoft has just sounded the alarm, warning that Chinese state-sponsored hackers have exploited vulnerabilities in its SharePoint software to break into institutions worldwide, including the U.S. Nuclear Agency. But here's where it gets controversial. The tech giant has identified two groups, Linen Typhoon and Violet Typhoon, which are allegedly supported by the Chinese government, as leveraging these flaws to gain unauthorized access. Another Chinese-based hacking group, dubbed Storm 2603, has also been exploiting these vulnerabilities, according to Microsoft's blog post. So what's the issue? The problem lies in the way SharePoint is used. When customers run the document sharing software on their own networks, rather than in the cloud, they become vulnerable to these attacks. And this is the part most people miss. These flaws have been exploited by hackers to break into institutions globally, with the U.S. Nuclear Agency being the latest victim. The question on everyone's mind is, how did this happen? Microsoft's blog post provides some insight, but the bigger question remains, how can we prevent such breaches in the future? The answer lies in understanding the vulnerabilities and taking proactive measures to secure our systems. What do you think? Should governments and institutions be held accountable for not doing enough to prevent such breaches? Share your thoughts in the comments below.